So welcome, Catharine Allan. I've been
Thank
so
you.
excited to talk to you. You are a clairvoyant medium, astrologer, intuition coach. You do past life regression and readings, which I found out are a little different through your through your website. You're an author, podcast host. You basically do it all, which is awesome.
Thank you.
And I just want to say, first of all, thank you for your book, A Little Bit of Intuition, because that was the beginning of like my journey, I guess we can say. And I think it made all of my anxieties kind of turn into hope and like comfort, and it made me be like, oh, this all has a meaning. Like I'm not going crazy. And
Yay!
I mean, especially at the time of COVID, you know, I'm thinking a lot more, I'm feeling a lot more. There's a lot of emotions going on. And then for some reason I picked up your book and I read it and I was like, oh, this feels warm. Like this feels like a nice hug right now, just all in a book. So I want to say thank you.
Oh, well, thanks. That makes me happy. It's exactly why I wrote it. I really am on a mission to make sure that people know what's real and know when they're not crazy.
Yeah.
Because it's a huge anxiety to be on that threshold all the time, not knowing if you can trust yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And you were the first person that explained how like when you get intuition, it's like sometimes that softer voice versus the anxiety, which is like sometimes screams a little bit, screams in your mind, but the intuition is like that softer feeling. Yes. And I've used that from then on, and it's just been really a game changer for me. And I'm like so excited.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. It was definitely pivotal in my whole experience. So when did you start kind of learning within yourself all about intuition? Like, were you always an intuitive person and child, or did it kind of like start sparking?
Well, it's sort of hindsight, you know, to say I was always intuitive, because it's not like I woke up born in this world. Oh, you know, no, I grew up arguing constantly with my mother and family about my intuitive side or my feelings. And there was a lot of effort to suppress that, you know, but I guess my stubbornness maybe saved me as well, because I just sort of was like, well, I know I'm right, even if they don't see it. I can't describe how the heck I did that at a young age, but something kicked in. Instead of saying maybe I'm crazy, I went, who are these people? Why can't they see what I'm seeing? Oh, well, I guess I better not say it. You know, so I definitely was silenced for a long time. But I did start to observe and analyze and psychoanalyze, you know, even early high school. And I would make little, I guess they were predictions. I wouldn't have called it that then, but I would have argued like, no, this is what's going to happen with this couple, or this person's like that. No, they're very nice. It's like, no, that's not right, Mom, or whoever. Yeah. And then when I was right, I would like, see. And so I don't think I really understood that I had any abilities until I started university. I had left home, so I was a little more on my own, right? And then just certain vibes I would get from people turned out to be more and more true. And then I had my first set of sort of predictive dreams, because I had dreamt of my boyfriend and his sister, and of Greece. They were Greek. And I later ended up having deja vu that would last sometimes for an hour or more, in this weird trance-like state where I remembered and I knew what they were going to say next.
Wow.
And I had dreamt of Greece, and I ended up in Greece with him. It wasn't even the boyfriend, it was his sister and his mother that were part of the dream. And I ended up at an ancient theater seeing a play with his sister and his mother. And I had a flashback of remembering this dream.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's not, my whole life isn't like that. It's not a TV show, but I did have some of those extreme experiences, you know, and then you start to say, well, okay, that was right. So all these other times when you're getting opposition or feedback from people and you're like, I don't know if I still think I'm right, then, and it's just over many years of observing, and then the chance to do readings that solidified it once I could start to do more and more readings and meet more and more people to verify the subtle stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I love the dream stuff because a lot of my dreams will, parts of them anyway, will start to appear in the actual world. And I'm like, what the heck? Like this, it's just really cool. And I've always loved interpreting dreams and
Mhm.
trying to figure out what the meaning is, because I personally think every dream, no matter how weird it is, it has like a little bit of meaning. There's something there. And it's not me
Yes.
trying to make something of it. It's
Yeah.
just trying to understand it so that I can make my waking life a little more easier, or just be prepared, or whatever it may be. So I love that. That's so cool. Where
Yeah.
did you go after you, like with your gifts? I know you do tarot readings. Was that kind of like your first stop in this world of all the things that you do?
Yeah, it was really astrology was the gateway.
Okay.
I started reading about the signs and then trying to subtly ask people their birthdays and then observe the astrology over years, you know, maybe 6 or 7 years. And then I met this Greek boyfriend and he had tarot cards and I never put them down from that day forward. I still remember the very day and where we were sitting and everything, like a freeze frame of, you know, when he showed me the cards.
Yeah.
And then he showed me this store, pagan shop downtown in Montreal. And a few years later, I ended up working there for about 14 years
Wow.
as a reader. So he was inadvertently pivotal, you know, but through the tarot, as I tried to go deeper and deeper and deeper into the reading, the channeling just sort of happened. You know, and as I was doing readings professionally and I was trying to go deeper and deeper into my channeling, the mediumship just happened.
Yeah.
You know, and I slowly realized the difference with all these clairsentient, clairaudient abilities. I hadn't read about any of that. I wasn't trying to be any of it. It was just, I went, oh, there's a name for that. Oh my God. I remember the day I went to the staff at the store. I'm like, what's going on? Every time I describe a person lately, the person tells me they've died. And they looked at me and they said, well, you're a medium. I'm like, what's that? You know?
Said what?
So this is the reason I trust it, because I wasn't watching The Craft or some movie, you know, I wasn't watching sci-fi and trying, like, I wasn't trying to make money for sure off of it for people.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people now. So I know that I came by it honestly because I wanted to be a fashion designer and then this happened, you know?
Wow. Okay, wait, did you ever end up pursuing any fashion, or did you just immediately get redirected?
No, I did do some costume design for theater and film for a few years. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you did get to dabble in that for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
And it was great, you know?
yeah.
But this was just calling me stronger. This led, yeah. And it was a struggle, honestly. Because, but every time I accepted, okay, your path is calling you. And when you accept it, life gets better.
Yeah.
Whereas when I was pushing for the things that I wanted, but really weren't for me, life was getting harder. Yeah. So the more I embraced this, the more things, you know, expanded. And it's still a push-pull a bit. There's still probably more that we can all do.
Yeah.
It's everyone says, oh, I want to find my purpose. It's like, really? Do you? Because
Do you though?
it doesn't mean it's a cakewalk, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to call you into like all your corners and all your shadowy bits. And it's going to say, do you have the guts to walk here? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I like how
Yeah.
you described that. What would a mediumship, because I've never gone to a medium before, but I've always been interested in it. What does a session with you look like? Like, do people come in specifically trying to connect with someone that has passed, or yeah.
With me, yeah, like the classic session with mediumship would be like the tradition of spiritualist churches, where you know, you can find them all over, but they'll give sort of they might sing a few hymns or read a few things from the Bible, and then people get up and say, can I give you a message? And, you know, some are focused on, you know, evidential mediumship, so they're trying to say, does somebody have a red car? Does someone's name start with an M or what? Like, you know, you've probably seen those.
Yes.
I didn't really do that because, like I said, for me, I was in the middle of a tarot reading and I just saw someone standing there. So for me, it's always been like, well, they either just show up or they don't. And if they do, I describe them and I can hear what they would say. So now the way I work, just to make sure, because people do usually call me when they have a particular loss. And in order to not have any disappointment or hurt feelings, or they get all the way to the session and I say, well, I'm sorry, but they're sort of in a sleeping state right now, or they're not saying what they want them to hear or whatever. I ask people to send me a photo of the person and I make sure that I can get a good connection before we go ahead. And then I do my thing on my own and I make notes, and then I can be more present with the person for the grief counseling aspect of it, you know?
Yeah.
And then those sessions are beautiful, you know, they're very healing for people.
Yeah, I can imagine. Do you ever find it hard if you're delivering news that may not be necessarily what the person wants to hear, or does that even happen at all?
Oh, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
In readings and, you know, mediumship or tarot, a lot of people, again, it's like, oh, I just want the truth. Are you sure? You know, like we all say that, and then we all feel the sting. But that's the thing. Like, we have to, if you're gonna bring forth these gifts to me, you have to be true. But true doesn't mean like slapping somebody with something either. You can still be gentle or productive about how you say it.
Yeah.
But there's still going to be all kinds of people that have Hollywood expectations that get angry, or you know, they want to believe. Let's say, for example, a typical one is one family wants to believe that the entire family is sort of sitting on the other side together in the same living room and they're all happy together. And it's like, families aren't that simple, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes grandpa is with his war buddies on the other side. He's not with your grandma. Sometimes that kind of thing upsets a lot of people. But to me, that's where there's a lot of education still needed about how this is, what this is and isn't. And Netflix and Hollywood doesn't help.
Yeah, Hollywood would definitely blow it out of proportion. So what is it and what isn't it? Like, what would you say what it is and what it isn't?
Well, I'd say what it is everybody's soul is individual, and you come here or you incarnate with a family you chose in circumstances or body, wealth, health, whatever, for some reason of learning. And your soul connections can be your family, or they can be outside your family, or they could be a cat or a dog that you were, you know, like soul connections that are real. They last beyond the grave, and we will often end up back with those soul connections, which isn't necessarily blood family. So and other than that, it's quite a mystery. Why would somebody choose a difficult life or suffering? But we have to learn to see the lesson or the nobility or the, you know, in these different lessons. Like, look at how many kids that get sick and die of cancer at 10, and they're the ones that are joyful and hopeful and uplift the whole hospital.
Yeah.
I mean, if that isn't like a high soul lesson of an old soul, I don't know what is, because otherwise they wouldn't have that effect.
Yeah.
So they sacrifice their life for others coming back in that way. Perhaps, you know, that's one version. And just because the soul is complex, I think it makes it harder for people to understand the messages coming through, and some of it's just human nature too. It's no one's fault. Like, if somebody, I don't know, if your grandma is showing me some lady, and it's like, well, no, I don't know anyone like that. My aunt isn't that. My mother doesn't look that. Well, does she have a best friend? You know, people can be getting messages from all kinds of people that were important, but unless you're really that intimate with someone, how would you know that person or that thing was important to them? And a lot of people don't know their family as well as they think they do. So.
Yeah. It's gotta be hard to navigate for you when you're in that situation and they're like, "Well, that didn't happen. That's not true. This isn't the way it is." And I'm sure that you probably, I'm just assuming, get a little bit of that backlash directed
Oh
to
yeah.
you in those situations. Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Because when you're delivering news that's a little uncomfortable and two people just don't really know where to put that discomfort, and
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
the one that's there. But so do you have like ways that you create that boundary between you and your clients to ensure that you're like still in your safe bubble even when they're kind of, maybe not accepting news
Yeah.
well?
I think I'm not bad at it, but it's still something I work on in this life because I
Mhm.
tend to be very empathic, and I'll think about people even after the session's over,
Yeah.
or some spirits linger around me for a while afterwards. So, but that's on me to have better opening and closing and clearing processes, and I don't always. Sometimes I just walk out of there all like mushy and emotional with the people, you know.
Mhm. But you're a person too. You're a human
Yeah.
too. So that's only natural.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think it should ever get to the point where it's so surgical or cold, you know? It's
Mhm.
real people and it's grief. So it's not like, "Oh, yeah, just zip open and zip closed and no feelings, bye." No,
Yeah, yeah.
that I don't think that's realistic.
No. And that takes away the whole human aspect of it too. Like they're coming to you for a reason. Um, yeah, so I don't like the coldness either. Especially I've seen like some tarot readers that are very abrupt.
Oh,
And like you
yes.
mentioned before, it's about you can always say the truth in a nice way. The truth and being honest doesn't always have to be mean. I think a lot of people like
Exactly.
to cover up like, "Well, I'm just being honest," but like you're also being mean. Like you can be nice and honest at the same
Yes.
time. So I think keeping that just like genuine human, I care for you as another human, is a great way to go into it, because that's creating a sense of safety. Even if someone is a little resistant to it, you're still leaving there knowing I was myself. You weren't like creating that harsh line.
Yeah. And especially now, I think it's very hard for people right now because, like you said, it's hard to stand out online. It's hard to portray yourself as authentic in this sea of people that have, really good marketing skills, or, look better than you do, or whatever have you.
Mhm.
And all the solicitous behavior of readers online, and you
Yes.
get an awful lot of people that just sit there. I can tell they don't know their cards at all. I
Mhm.
can tell they've got zero counseling training, and they've got 25,000 followers, and they're charging money on TikTok, and they've got no skill. Well,
Mhm.
not no skill, but let's say low skill in terms of actually helping people. But this is who flocks to it at the beginning. And then eventually, I
Yeah.
think, as people begin a healing journey, and they need to deal with their emotions, or they want to find somebody they'd actually trust. Well, that's when word of mouth takes them. For whatever reason, they'll choose me, or they'll choose somebody else who resonates as more real. So I
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, thank goodness I've been out here long enough, established a name before the internet,
Yes.
because it's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And something that you said, that this is something that just really frustrates me, is the soliciting and the accounts that reach out, and even the people in real life, because I think a lot of my friends may not be as familiar with like this side of everything, but they come to me if they have questions.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of people that get scammed by, like, I think a lot of people have gifts and have a way to connect,
Yeah.
and sometimes don't use it for the best, which
Yeah.
is really, it turns the people that are new to it away from it, which
Yes.
upsets me, because now they're scared and they're always constantly asking like, well, who's lying to me, who's telling me the truth, but she knew so much about me and then used it against me. And that
Yeah.
hurts my feelings so much, because I'm like, if they genuinely care, they're not asking you $5,000 for this one tiny thing. They're not doing that, because That's not what.
Are you talking about people saying that you're cursed and you have to pay the money to break the curses and things? Yeah. Those are always scams. Always.
The big one that I hear often is that your crown chakra is like it's cracked or it's broken, so there's no way in. And for someone who's like
sorry, that's funny. I mean, it's awful to tell somebody, but that's like such a crock of,
Yeah.
Okay.
That's one that I've been hearing so frequently. Maybe it's the Florida vibe right now, what they're all saying, but for someone who's starting off this journey and hears that, they're probably like, oh my gosh, like, is it? Like, do I need to fix it? I'll pay anything to fix this thing. But that's not true. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, please run the other way. Like, well, I know some people, we'll get you in contact with some people that will really genuinely care about you. No, like we're not doing that. Not at all.
Wow, maybe I need to make like a little video about that to make sure there's a counter voice to these things, because people will make up just anything to get money. And the solicitous thing and impersonating, like that didn't happen to me until this year, the impersonating. And anyway, I'm happy that I have a lot of people that know who I am, because about 20 people messaged me and said there's someone impersonating you. And they didn't have a doubt that that wasn't me doing that. But I still need to make one of those disclaimer things that I will never solicit but that's another whole crazy thing of this, is like the in a world where you're supposed to be marketing yourself and putting yourself out there, and then at the same time you're not supposed to be solicitous. Well, it's like, how do you like, this is really tricky for anybody who's authentic or has integrity. It's like, how do you get yourself out there without being solicitous? So like, anybody solicitous is a red flag to me. I don't care what they think.
I completely agree. But the whole social media world, especially having this kind of, I don't want to say profession, but having these kind of services is a challenging thing to go through. Something that I've noticed, this is off topic, but is like, I think a lot of it's sacred to be shown, at least. And it's hard when people are like, well, show us what you do. And it's like, no, in the nicest way possible. Like, maybe not. Like, you could give little like glimpses of what you're doing, but it's hard to just be like, come sit in on a session with me, because you're not, no, I don't want that. I don't want my phone. I don't want the universe. I don't want the internet to see what I'm doing. So we're walking the fine line, but I have hope for us.
Yeah, it is true. Well, that's where, again, if lots of people over the years would write to me and they're not sure, and they're not sure they trust you, and they're not sure. And I just knew that I needed to put out a lot of free content where people can listen, people can get a vibe of you. And it's like, at the end of the day, after hundreds of hours of YouTube and podcast, if you're still not sure you trust me, that's sort of on you. You've got to still take a risk and try to trust somebody.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah, and I'll always tell people, if you feel it's me, it's me. If it's someone else, it's someone else. Like, I really believe there's room for everyone.
Yeah.
You can go to 5 readers about the same boyfriend if you want to. I mean, so what? If they're all real, they're all going to tell you about the same thing.
Yeah.
Because it's not about the reader, it's about their ability to read you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's it's quite the thing. And, a lot of people in this age of social media have realized, I can make a quick buck on this. And because before, like when I came out, there weren't many of us coming out. So it was a big deal if you did. And so you, just by coming out and being visible, you were you had that cred, because, there I was at a store. People used to come up to that store and make the cross and like try to, Jesus freaks coming and saving our souls in this place, and you name it, because it was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, people used to treat my boss who owned it like she was a witch walking by. I mean, we had all kinds of everything walk in there, from gifted to insane, because we were a visible target, sort of like in the gay community at the beginning. When you came out, it's not a small thing. And now it's, thanks to Harry Potter, thanks to social media, it's all mainstreamed. but
Mhm.
mainstream doesn't mean people understand it, but
Mhm.
they popularize it, and then other people go, oh, hey, I can make money. And
Yeah.
then you really, that's where, to me, we're at now, and it's really hard for anyone to really know.
Yeah, yeah. I always say to people, just trust what you feel. Just trust what you feel when you are interacting with someone. If you're constantly second guessing, are they telling me the truth? Are they trying to get something out of me?
Yes,
Then that's okay. Not for you. Next person. So that's always
yes,
my piece of advice. Just trust, because you know inside anyway what's meant for you and what's not at the end of the day. So just go towards what you know.
yeah.
Something that I really wanted to talk to you about, because I've
Sure.
been like tapping into that world, is the past life regression and
Mm-hmm.
readings that you do. So kind of what's the difference, and what would you recommend for, I guess, for a different
Yeah.
person? Like who would do the past life regression versus the reading?
Yeah. Yeah, over time, I realized there's lots of people can be guided and visualize, and some people really can't.
Mm-hmm.
Either they're not able to visualize, they're not visual, or they find it too anxiety provoking to go that deeply into, semi-hypnotic state in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So for the people that are able to visualize and do a bit of meditation, I would recommend the regression, because I'm guiding you through, and I'm still psychically walking through this with you. I'm still seeing things as you're seeing them. And together it sort of fills in the picture of that life, but it's guided by what you see.
Okay.
It's very generic imagery at the beginning of walking down a path and arriving at something that's obvious to you. And then looking, I might ask them to describe, where are you?
Mm-hmm.
What year is it? Trust your gut. Look down, look at your shoes. Are you a man, woman, old, young, poor, rich? And
Mm.
try to get an idea, because a lot of these things can be researched historically once you're done.
Wow.
Yeah, and some people have had really strong ones where we were seeing, literal battle scenes between 3 different countries. She saw the uniforms, the year, like
Wow.
chills.
Yeah, that gave me chills.
Yeah, the reading is more for people that have a harder time going through that, or don't want to do that on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would be the one channeling what I'm getting as a past life for them. And then, again, they'll probably be more intellectualizing
Yeah.
than visualizing and feeling. But
Yeah.
still, it starts to put some threads together sometimes for people, especially when it comes to relationship issues. I found past life readings really give people a lot of peace, whether
Mm.
it's really, I mean, because who can prove it, whether you were in this life with someone or not. But a lot of us have that feeling that the intensity of the relationship doesn't make any sense for the context that you met, or
Yeah.
for how long you've known each other. So how else do you explain the intensity of knowing someone 24 hours and it feels like it's been 10 years?
Yeah.
And so when you put it in the context of a past life reading, sometimes you get a really good idea of the dynamic that's going on. And
Mm-hmm.
then that helps people to work on it in this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know, or at least from like my belief system, that there's multiple past lives that we've all had. So when you channel them, do you really feel one very powerfully for someone else, or is it kind of like you can see or feel different ones going on?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, yeah. If I do the reading, there's more chance of seeing more than one life.
Mm-hmm.
The regression is really you're back there feeling like you were in one of them for real.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, like it's more like sort of a semi-hypnosis.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it all depends on the person, but I find most people, if they're going to do the regression, they're able to handle and process one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But I think we've all got certain themes that we're playing out from life to life that repeat, but
Mm-hmm.
you might be on different sides of it. Like
Yeah.
in one you're the criminal, in another one you're the cop, and the other one you're the informant, in another
Uh-huh.
one you're the victim.
Yeah.
But it's still a similar theme of
Yeah.
justice, and I think a lot of people have. It's interesting once you can tap into what the themes might be to work on them, then make better choices again in this life to have a more peaceful one.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna ask, how do you think we can use our past lives and understanding them to make it a little bit better or more peaceful in this lifetime?
Yeah, well, for example, a lot of us would have been, a lot of people in other lives would have been poor.
Mm-hmm.
So that would, like, just looking at that one, a lot of people would have been, manual labor or slave or, maid or something like that. So if you have issues with, I can never get ahead, I don't make enough money, why, how come I never get a raise? How come people don't appreciate my work? You might want to look at your past lives, and you might want to just try to break whatever karma is there and say, well, in this life, I don't have to be that. That's not true anymore. It can be
Mm-hmm.
different. And if it's something to do with, what's another good theme? Oh, yeah, like religious lives. A lot of us would have had religious lives, meaning, nun or monk, or just growing up in stricter conditions than we have now. So a lot of people might
Yeah.
have taken vows. They might have taken a vow of silence or of celibacy, or again, vows of poverty, stuff that would have been associated with the church. And maybe you feel something that you feel you're always working on and you're always stuck and it never happens. And
Mm-hmm.
you're very frustrated. You might want to look, if you've looked at your current life enough with therapy and it's still not answered,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I would say, take a look at the past life and see, maybe you need to release yourself from something that happened in another life, forgive
Mm-hmm.
yourself, and then it can start to lighten things up and change the script.
Yeah. I think that
Yeah.
it just really helps create that bridge of understanding that we can't have just by looking at the facts that we know here. At least that's what I've experienced before, like I've had the past life experience that kind of closed the bridge of like, oh, that's why. Okay. But on this lifetime, it wouldn't make any sense as to why I was feeling certain things or having an irrational fear or
Yes.
like
Phobias.
having
Yeah,
a
it's
certain
another one.
connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like having a big fear of something that maybe I don't need to fear that much, and why I feel that anxiety when I'm in that situation. When I had the past life experience, and I was like, oh, okay. Like it was so powerful and so intense, and it was through a Reiki session, which was really cool. Um, but it was really cool to bring back what I learned, I guess, and just apply it to here, and knowing that I can let that fear kind of be put to rest. Like, oh, that fear isn't me being anxious about the future. It's not a future event I need to be worried about. It's something that already happened. So it could stay there. We can just leave it
Yes,
in the
yes,
past.
that's
It doesn't need to
huge.
come with me. Yeah.
Yeah, I had past I mean, I would have this weird recurring sort of phobia about something, and it was intense enough that you'd be like, ooh, no, not thinking
Hmm.
about that. But it was going on for years, and then one day it just got so strong I couldn't ignore it. And then I went
Hmm.
with another medium and told her about it, and we both sort of channeled it together. And this past life just came so clear, and the phobia was gone. It's never returned.
Wow.
So you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
healing happens on so many levels, and if we can help on this one,
Yeah.
a lot of people, have also, even during Reiki sessions, told me that certain symptoms have disappeared. They never came back,
Hmm.
even though doctors can't find something wrong. So,
Yep. Yes.
so many times it's like energetic cords or past life memories, or, yeah, it's incredible how many things are going on with us.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think about the like, what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something good and it just slipped
It'll
away.
come back.
It'll come back, exactly. Oh,
Yeah.
the validation. There we go. It did come
Wow.
back. Sometimes when we go through those experiences, we get that validation too that feels right. Like the same way that I felt when I read your book of I have this knowing, but I don't understand it. and then I understood it and I felt validated, and I didn't have to worry anymore. And I think that happens the same way with when we experience something like a past life experience, and we just have that validation, because we get shamed when we know things, but we don't have the proof, because people love evidence. They want the proof. They want the facts.
Yes.
And it's hard when you're just like, but I just know.
Yes,
And you just have to
exactly.
accept that. So when we have the past life things, even for ourselves, we could just validate it a little bit, which gives that little extra layer of comfort, at least from my experience.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the validation is hard to come by, isn't it, when you're not around? We need other people like us to help validate in those moments when you're too stressed. I have, lots of intuitive friends that I trust, that I can say, like, okay, I'll often lie down on the table of my osteopath, who's very psychic herself, and I'll say, okay, is this physical or is this me just stressing out again? And she'll tell me, I think your symptom is spiritual, and other times it's a physical thing, and I've got to do some exercises. And it's just like, when you're in the throes of it, you can't tell. So you need a team of people who trust their gut as well.
Yeah.
To help validate it in that moment. It's so helpful, because you can be led down the rabbit hole in a second, when you're anxious, and suddenly you're taking meds you don't need, and you're diagnosed with something you don't have, or you're with people that are not safe for you all of a sudden, because you went, oh, should I guess I should, they want me to, and then you're in a dangerous situation. It happens so fast. Yes.
I think about all the times in the past that, because I would go out a lot. I mean, I was in college, and before that in high school, I would go out, and I always had a feeling before a night that wasn't right not to go. And every time that I've stayed home, something happened at the place I was going to go to. And then one night here in college, I was like, I'm just going to go. Like, I'm just overthinking it. I'm having anxiety. I'm going to go. Then something happened that just whole night ruined. And I was like, this is like, I tested myself, and I didn't need to do that. So every time I have that little thing, that my intuition, when it's a night out, I'm like, no, it's not right for me. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna take myself out of the situation. And it is crazy when you don't listen, because it will smack you in the face and be like, told you. Like,
so much.
You knew something was gonna happen. That's just a little side note.
And just same thing with people. I think that's one of the hardest ones, is you get a first impression or first vibe, and then right away we go, oh, that's not very nice. That's not a nice thing to say, or that's judgment, or maybe projecting. It's like, well, maybe sometimes we are, but a lot of the time we're not. We're just reading the vibe that we're getting of whether that person is a fit with us or not. Yeah. And a lot of time we don't follow it, and we go, oh, and we try to make a bridge with that person, or we try to, and then you get all messed up. You get all lost in it.
Yeah. Too busy trying to invalidate our original feelings and trying to make logical sense of something that doesn't need to be, made logical. And
you can't go around to other people going, you know what, this person has that really like two-faced vibe. It's like, I think they're really nice. Like, right. Well, anyway. A lot of it, unfortunately, you got to keep to yourself, unless you have another very intuitive friend around to go, okay, just checking. Yeah. You get that vibe too. Okay, I'll just be quiet and know that I'm right then. All right.
Yeah. It's just like the sit back and like, okay, I see this. The world doesn't have to know, but I know, and I know how I'm going to maneuver it. And that's that. Sometimes when you say it and then someone invalidates you, that's when you're like, oh, maybe I am wrong. Or then you get defensive and you're like, I can trust myself. And then it starts a whole spiral when we can just, I'm going to keep it to myself. I'll sit with it. Yeah, I know. And that's okay. I don't need to do anything
more
with it.
Powerful when we keep it to ourselves anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. So the question that I ask everyone at the end is, if you were in the room full of the entire world and everyone was listening, paying attention, what would you say to them?
Oh my goodness.
I get that face every time.
Yeah, because everybody's like, really? Everyone's listening? Oh my goodness.
You could take a second, trust me.
Everyone was listening. Well, I'm going to just trust first thing comes to me. Okay. I would tell them that most of what we fight about on this planet is religion and our belief systems. And there's actually an awful lot of overlap and crossover between most of them. And if we could just allow this person, this group to have their own version and this to have their own version and realize the ways we overlap, we would avoid an awful lot of tragedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a great thing to tell the world, especially at a time like this. I think the world could use it, but at least for now, I heard it, and my listeners have heard it. And if it's one person, if it's a bunch of people, it's still creating that thought in people's minds.
I'm so curious what some other people have answered now.
Yeah, so I've had I think everyone at the end of the day kind of has like a similar thing of just like to their niche, you know, like because I have people on, I've had herbalists, I've had naturopathic doctors, I've had authors, and it's all just kind of boils down to like the inner world a little bit. Like every time they speak to the world, it's all about an individual's inner world, if that makes sense. Like even you're talking like about fighting, but at the end of the day, it's still an inner thing that we need to work on, or we need to adjust.
Yes. So, well, that's
lovely. Interesting. Yeah.
That's an interesting thing to ask people, you know?
Yeah. I always thought I should have like one really like good question, and I'm waiting for someone one day to ask me, and I'm gonna have to be like, oh no. So I'm gonna have to think about my answer one day.
Oh, you're not sure of yours yet?
I don't think so. I think I do have it. It would definitely depend on the day. I think it would change, but overall it would just be like choose love in any capacity, whatever it is, with whoever it is. If you approach it with love, then you're going to lighten the situation.
Yes.
More love, less fear.
Yes.
Probably
I have a friend who says, you know, he's a yoga teacher too, and he says, everyone should just do yoga every day for half an hour. We'd have world peace.
Yeah.
Everybody just got on the mat and just dealt with their body and breathe for a few minutes and, you know, loosen up. It would probably go a long, long way to inner peace.
Yeah.
And just, I guess another thing that would come to me too is just for everybody to know that healing is always possible. It is not easy. It takes courage, but it is always possible at any point to turn around. At any moment, you can turn around and make a healing choice, and it will start to change your life. And we, you know, me included, we can all get down our own in our baggage and our traumas and whatever, and get down and forget that. And then you have a moment that awakens you, and one choice can change your trajectory. Yeah.
It's starting the positive spiral up versus the scary spiral down. I always try to see it like that. Which way? I'm going to spiral in some direction. Which way am I going to go? Am I going to go up, or am I going to go down?
Yeah. And the more true you are to yourself, the more honest you are with yourself, that first honest choice will set things in motion in the right direction. Yeah. Not easy to make usually, but worth it.
No, it's the decision you're supposed to make. I feel like it's always the hardest, but always the best in the long term, but always really hard to do it. And then once you do it, you're like, oh, it wasn't that bad. But it's the like getting there. It's like going to the gym sometimes, you know, it's like, oh, I don't want to do it. And then you go and you're like, oh, that was awesome.
How come I'm not going every day? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to say thank you so much for coming on. This has been
my pleasure. It was great to meet you.
Such an honor. I've been so excited. I never even really even thought like I'm gonna get to talk to you. So this has been awesome. I'm gonna be fangirling after this. So
Thank you.
thank you so much. You're such
Where
a pleasure to have.
Oh, well, thank you. Where do we hear your podcast then?
Oh, I was gonna ask you where people can find you, but
well,
I'm on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and I usually post it on YouTube too. Everything's under Guidance with Gab. I'm trying to change the name. Because I made like a new little logo thing for it. But that was what I made a year ago. And that's kind of my name on everything is Guidance with Gab. So that's
nice. I like it.
And where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm at river-rain.com. And I've got a YouTube channel. And I do full moon and new moon reports and predictions. And Facebook still, Instagram. Yeah. I don't really do my River Rain show much for a while now, but I would like to revive it. But there's still some episodes, as you know, up on Anchor, and I think they're on Spotify as well. I think it's on Spotify. But yeah, they're older ones, but I'm still happy with them. But I haven't revived that chapter. Something changed in the pandemic, and I don't know. I think I was putting out an awful lot of content for years and regularly, and something just, I needed a mental break from things. But so hopefully people come back for that. And I have my books out. A little bit of intuition and vibes from the other side. And I'll be writing. I'm in the midst of researching another one, and have just been hired to write another one this year. So I'm excited. Yeah.
Oh, yay. I'm so excited for you, and I'm excited to read it.
Thank you.
That's awesome. And podcast, if anyone wants to listen to it, it's awesome because you add music in the middle to make it the radio, which I love because it sets you set the vibe with the conversation, and the music always relates to what you're talking about. And I'm like, this is like the little break thing that I needed here.
Oh, good. Thank you for saying, because, I did that on purpose because I would search so long to try to find the right songs. And I knew that what I was saying could be really chunky to receive it. And I thought, people need a minute to sort of chew on what you just said. And the music could really help you.
Yes,
with the show,
It did.
So I'm happy you say that.
Yes. Well, I want you to take care of yourself and not over push yourself. But if you do end up making more podcast episodes, if that ends up, falling back into your path, I'd be super excited. But always you first and taking care of, your needs and everything. But I am still going to be your fan and reading your books. And I'm just so excited for you. And I'm very grateful that we got to talk.
Yeah, well, hopefully we get to meet one day. I'll try to get myself to Florida.
Yeah, maybe I'll go to Canada.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, why not? Yeah, that'd be great.
I always wanted to go.
Yeah, all right.
So thank you.